She sent me a photo at 10:43 p.m. It was her legs, under our blanket, feet crossed, bedside lamp on, captioned, "Alone tonight. Just thinking. Hope you're okay." But I wasn't okay, because that was my blanket, and my pillow next to her had a dent in it. And on the nightstand, just barely visible in the corner of the frame, his watch. I recognized it instantly. That scratched-up matte black dive watch, the one I'd seen before on the wrist of the man she told me not to worry about. You know the line. He's just a coworker, babe. He's like, weird. Not even my type. Right. So no, I wasn't okay. But I didn't reply. Not this time. Instead, I saved the image, turned off my phone, and drove straight to the storage unit I'd rented the week she told me she needed clarity. She said, "It's not a breakup, Gil. It's a break. There's a difference." I nodded back then like an idiot, but I was already preparing for what I knew was coming. And I was right. Because 2 weeks earlier, I planted a tiny camera behind the bedroom mirror. Not because I'm some paranoid freak, but because she'd started talking like a stranger. Started smiling at her phone when I walked out of rooms. Started taking walks in full makeup. I watched that feed like a dying man watches the clock in a hospital room. 3 nights before she sent that photo, he came over and stayed. She didn't know I knew. Didn't know I saw him carry takeout into the house like he lived there. Didn't know I watched her laugh in the kitchen while he poured wine. Didn't know I saw her take the necklace I bought her for our 7th anniversary and toss it in the drawer like it meant nothing. But I stayed quiet. I didn't text. Didn't fight. Didn't confront her. Instead, I booked a flight. Moved everything that mattered out of the house. Froze the joint account. Canceled the lease she didn't know I co-signed for her new art studio. I even sent flowers to her work, but not from me. From him. That part. That was just the beginning. She thinks I broke down. She thinks I'm still waiting. But this break she begged for? It already became her nightmare. The universe doesn't usually hand you clean revenge. It doesn't just drop poetic justice into your lap. But sometimes, on rare, almost magical days, it does exactly that. And for me, that day came 48 hours after the fake thinking of you photo she sent from our bed. I was at a motel in Tennessee, using an alias and a prepaid debit card, watching the world collapse behind me while drinking bad coffee and eating vending machine peanuts. That's when my phone rang. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer. The voice on the other end was calm. Way too calm. Female. "Is this Gilroy?" "Who's this?" I asked, already bracing myself. "You don't know me," she said. "But I know your wife. And more importantly, I know who she's been sleeping with." I didn't speak. I couldn't. My fingers went numb. "He's my husband," she continued, with this eerie steel in her voice. "Thatcher Reynolds. I found his burner phone. Your name popped up, along with video of him in your house. With your wife." She paused. "You and I have some things to talk about." It turns out, he had lied to both of us. She thought he was away consulting. I thought he was just a sleazy coworker. Danielle had the nerve to call their relationship complicated, but from what his wife showed me, it was a full-blown second life. And not just with Danielle. There were 3 other women, all carefully spaced out, all given similar stories. But what set Danielle apart was what she said on one of the recordings. The other women were flings. Fun. Disposable. But Danielle? She was the upgrade. I wanted to vomit. I asked the woman, her name was Eileen, why she was helping me. Why she'd gone out of her way to call. She said something I'll never forget. "Because I want to see him crash. And I want your wife to crash with him." That's when I gave her everything. Screenshots. The camera footage. The timeline. Even the receipts. We worked like investigators, quietly, efficiently, and without emotion. Every lie they told, we documented. Every message they sent, we archived. She was 3 steps ahead of me at every turn. That woman had the fury of a lawyer and the patience of a saint. Meanwhile, Danielle kept texting me as if nothing had changed. "Just checking in. Hope you're taking care of yourself. Maybe we can meet soon. When things feel less foggy." Foggy. She was treating our entire marriage like a creative writing assignment. But I didn't respond. Not yet. She didn't know it, but the stage was already being set. A confrontation was coming, one she would never forget. And when it hit, it wouldn't just expose her lies. It would obliterate the carefully curated image she'd spent years building. Because you know what happens when 2 betrayed spouses team up? You get fire. And I was done playing nice. Eileen and I agreed to wait 1 week before making any moves. She wanted to time everything just right, and I wasn't going to argue with a woman who had ice in her voice and evidence folders in her inbox. That week was the longest of my life. I moved like a ghost, slept in broken 2-hour stretches. I kept staring at the door, like Danielle might walk in and laugh, call the whole thing a misunderstanding, tell me it was all some awful test of love. But she didn't. What she did instead was worse. 4 days into our silence, she posted a story on Instagram. A beach, a wine glass, a caption, "Girls only getaway. No stress. No men. Just sunsets." No men. I looked closer. The reflection in her sunglasses, just a blur, but one I recognized. Thatcher. His stupid tattoo. The one he always covered at work. She couldn't even hide him properly. That night, I borrowed a favor. A friend of a friend who owed me big worked front desk at the same coastal resort in Cape Hatteras. I got the guest registry, and there it was. Danielle Klein and Thatcher Reynolds. Shared suite. 3 nights. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped my phone. I didn't tell Eileen. Not yet. I needed this one moment for myself. So I drove 5 hours straight through the night. I didn't stop to eat. I didn't stop to breathe. I just kept gripping the wheel like if I let go, I'd fall apart completely. When I arrived, the sky was still dark. The resort looked peaceful. Fake peaceful. I parked on the edge of the lot, heart racing, and waited. I wasn't sure what I wanted to see, or if I even wanted to see it at all. At 6:42 a.m., the door to their suite opened. Danielle walked out first, wrapped in a towel, hair damp. Then him, shirtless, laughing. He kissed her neck like they'd been doing it forever. Like my existence was a joke, he didn't even have to fear anymore. I didn't confront them. I recorded it. 30 seconds. That's all I needed. I left without saying a word, drove straight back, and sent the footage to Eileen with one line. Your move. That night, everything changed. Eileen called and said, "We're done watching. It's time." I didn't know exactly what she meant, but her tone sent a chill down my spine. Whatever she was planning, it wasn't petty. It wasn't emotional. It was surgical. And Danielle? She had no idea the break she asked for was about to become the collapse of her entire double life. Eileen never raised her voice. That's what made her terrifying. Every word she spoke had weight, calculation, like she was running 10 steps ahead of us all. She told me not to panic, not to message Danielle, not to let my pain cloud the timing. She said, "People like your wife? They only care about perception." So we hit her where it hurts. Her image. Danielle was hosting an art show the following weekend. Not hers, of course. She wasn't a painter. She was a curator, which mostly meant sipping wine and pretending other people's work made her feel something. But the opening night was important. Press, donors, her boss. People she wanted to impress. People she wanted to charm. Her whole life had become a performance for those rooms. Eileen asked for the invite list. I had it, of course. Danielle forwarded it to me weeks ago, back when she still thought I was cheering her on. Eileen cross-referenced every name with Thatcher's business connections, then chose 5 very specific people. All senior, all gossipy, all deeply respected in their circles. And then she printed photos. Still frames from the camera I'd installed. The shot of Danielle and Thatcher kissing in my kitchen. Her hand in his back pocket on my porch. Her slipping his shirt on after a shower in my bathroom. The footage from the hotel? That was the grand finale. Each photo went into a plain white envelope. Each envelope sealed with a red wax stamp, like something ceremonial. It wasn't revenge porn. It wasn't vulgar. No nudity. No threats. Just enough to end careers and reputations with surgical precision. Eileen mailed the envelopes 2 days before the event. I showed up alone to the gallery. I stood near the back, next to a wall-sized abstract painting that looked like someone spilled a smoothie on canvas. Danielle walked in wearing a dark green dress I'd never seen before. She looked radiant, confident, unbothered. She had no idea what was coming. For the first half hour, everything went smoothly. She laughed too loud, touched people's arms, tossed her hair like she'd practiced it. She kept glancing at the door, probably hoping Thatcher would show. He didn't. Then, one by one, the smiles started fading. The conversation slowed. People pulled out phones, whispered, side-eyed. 2 donors excused themselves mid-sentence. Danielle started looking around, confused. I watched her face shift from confident to concerned too. Scared. Her hand reached for her necklace. A nervous tick she didn't know I remembered. And then her boss approached. Gray suit. Cold eyes. He didn't speak to her at first, just handed her one of the envelopes. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. I couldn't hear what he said over the music, but I didn't need to. Her face drained of color. Her lips moved, trying to explain something, but he just shook his head and walked away. She looked around like a drowning person. Desperate. Panicked. That green dress might as well have been neon. Everyone saw her now. Not the curator. Not the charming wife. Not the woman in control. Just the liar. She locked eyes with me across the room. I didn't blink. I didn't nod. I just left. No words. No scene. Because silence hurts more than shouting ever could. And that night, it cut deeper than any betrayal she'd committed. 2 days after the gallery, Danielle sent me a voicemail I've replayed more times than I'd like to admit. It was cracked and frantic, and for the first time in a long time, she sounded like the girl I used to know. Except now, that voice wasn't asking me what movie I wanted to watch or what kind of takeout we should order. Now, she was begging me to call her. To just talk. I didn't. Because while she was unraveling, Thatcher was beginning to drown. Eileen was ruthless, quiet, methodical, terrifyingly precise. She waited until he thought it had blown over. Then she struck. It started with a tip to his firm's ethics board, a carefully packaged envelope detailing the consulting retreats he'd taken on company time. He'd used a corporate card for at least one of the hotel stays. Idiot. Next came the anonymous submissions to 3 of the professional organizations he proudly flaunted in his bios. Not threatening, just factual. Timeline. Receipts. A PDF of his own text messages, recovered from the backup files Eileen found in a synced cloud account he didn't even know she had access to. By the end of the week, his LinkedIn was deactivated. Then his website went offline. And through it all, Danielle kept texting me. But here's the part that almost made me laugh. If I weren't still so numb from the wreckage. She sent me a long, bleeding message at 2:16 a.m. That was her favorite time to act dramatic. Said she was ready to talk. Said she didn't want to lose what we had. She said she never meant to fall for him. That she was confused. That she thought the break would make things clearer. She ended it with, "You still feel like home, Gil." I didn't respond, but I did screenshot the message. And I sent it to Eileen. Now, you're probably thinking, why? Why would I do that? Why poke the bear when Thatcher's life was already falling apart? Because I wasn't done. Because I needed Danielle to feel the cracks she caused, from every side. And I wanted Eileen to know, fully, just how deep their betrayal went. To see the kind of woman Danielle really was. How quickly she turned on the man she upgraded to. But then something happened I didn't expect. Eileen forwarded me something in return. A video. 10 seconds. A clip Danielle had accidentally sent to Thatcher's wife months ago, back when she was sloppy and overconfident. In it, Danielle calls me a safety net. Says I'm weak, but good for backup. Says she'd never go back unless it all burned down. 10 seconds. 10 seconds that ruined the last piece of her I ever loved. I don't think Danielle even remembers sending it. But that's the beauty of evidence. It doesn't care what you remember. The next day, Eileen told me she was planning one final strike. Something Danielle would never see coming. Something public. Something permanent. And I said 4 words I never thought I'd say. Make it hurt quietly. Eileen didn't just want revenge. She wanted something rare. Silence. Not the awkward kind, but the kind that follows a car crash. That haunting, airless moment where people just stand frozen, unsure how to speak, because what they just witnessed doesn't fit into ordinary words. That's what she planned for Danielle. And the craziest part? Danielle helped make it happen without knowing. The week after Thatcher's career retreat ended in resignation, Danielle launched into full damage control mode. I watched it unfold from the sidelines like a pathetic ghost in the life I used to call mine. She cleaned up her socials, posted inspirational quotes about growth and accountability, reshared an old wedding photo of us with the caption, "Love rewrites itself." I nearly dropped my phone from laughing. But the real kicker? She scheduled a live stream. Not a private apology. Not a confession. A live-streamed Q&A for her brand followers about navigating betrayal and rediscovering self-worth. Her face on the promo graphic was edited to porcelain, eyes softened like a victim in a sad movie. Comments poured in from women telling her she was brave, that she'd bounce back, that her husband must have been the one who failed. I watched the announcement video 10 times, just shaking. That's when Eileen messaged me. "I've got it." She'd set up a bot account. Something untraceable. Just a simple link, timed with the livestream chat. No message. No accusation. Just a Dropbox folder titled Perspective. Inside were carefully selected files. No hate speech. No nudity. No threats. Just raw moments. Danielle kissing Thatcher in our hallway. Her voice calling me safe. That beach video where she said, "He doesn't even know I'm here with someone." And the kicker, her voice from a phone call I didn't know Eileen had recorded, laughing, saying, "Gil's too soft to leave." The live stream started. I didn't watch it live. I couldn't. I knew what was coming, and honestly, I didn't want to see her face when it happened. But I read the aftermath. People noticed the link almost immediately. Some ignored it. Others didn't. 10 minutes in, the chat derailed. Questions stopped. Comments flipped. People were quoting her own words back at her. Screenshots were circulating on Twitter within the hour. The live stream was quietly ended mid-sentence. Later that night, she posted a black square on her profile. No caption. And by morning, she was gone. Deleted. Everything. Her Instagram. Her art curator bio page. Her Pinterest boards full of fake wisdom. All scrubbed. I should have felt satisfied. But I didn't. Because there was still one thing she hadn't done. She hadn't come to me. Not really. Not with honesty. Not with accountability. She hadn't said why. She hadn't said sorry. And worse, I had no idea what she was going to do next. Because people like Danielle, they don't vanish. They regroup. It was nearly 3 weeks since the live stream collapse, and I hadn't heard a single word from her. Not a text. Not a call. Not a desperate, "we need to talk" email. At first, the silence felt like a relief. Then it started to rot in my chest. I kept waiting for the final blow, the scream, the guilt trip, the dramatic doorstep monologue where she called me cruel and cold. But there was nothing. Until the knock. It was late afternoon. I'd just come back from grabbing groceries I didn't really need, trying to distract myself from the echo of my own apartment. I almost didn't answer. Something about the knock felt too familiar. Rhythmic. Like it meant something. It was her. Danielle stood there in a hoodie and sunglasses, trying to look smaller than I remembered. But there was no hiding the chaos in her eyes. She'd lost weight. Her face was pale. The sharpness that used to define her every movement, gone. I didn't say anything. She took the glasses off and tried to smile. "Hi." Still, I said nothing. My heart was pounding, but I didn't know if it was rage, fear, or exhaustion. Maybe all of them at once. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "Can I come in?" I let her. I know, don't yell at me. But after everything, part of me needed to see her in this state. Not through a screen. Not filtered by text. Just her, without the armor. She didn't sit. She just stood in the middle of the living room like she didn't recognize it anymore. Like she expected our old couch to still be there, or my record player, or the shelf with the souvenirs we collected from all the places she now pretended never mattered. "I lost everything," she said. "You know that, right?" I didn't answer. "They dropped me from the grant program. Pulled my next exhibit. My boss won't return my emails. Half my friends blocked me." Her voice broke. "Thatcher's gone. Like, really gone. Vanished. Probably halfway across the country by now." Still, I said nothing. She walked toward the window and looked out like she was trying to figure out how I lived now. What kind of man I became in her absence. And then she said it. The line that cracked my silence wide open. "I didn't cheat on you because I stopped loving you. I cheated because I didn't think you loved yourself." That was it. That was her excuse. Like her betrayal was some profound gift to wake me up. Like everything she did, the lies, the manipulation, the rehearsed crying, was just a mirror she held up so I could find myself again. I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out harsh, bitter, loud. She flinched. "You lit the house on fire," I said, "and now you're complimenting me for escaping the flames." She looked down. For the first time, I saw something behind her eyes that almost resembled real shame. "I thought you'd fight for me," she whispered. And that was the final cut. I stepped closer, not with anger, but with something colder. Something final. "You said you wanted a break," I told her. "But you didn't mean a pause. You meant permission. And now that the game's over, you're only here because there's no one else left to clap for you." She didn't cry. Not right away. She just nodded, like she knew. "I never thought you'd let go," she said quietly. I opened the door. And for once, she didn't argue. She just walked out. A week passed. No more knocks. No texts. No middle-of-the-night voicemails. Danielle was truly gone this time. And for once, not by her choice. I think she finally understood that I didn't walk away because I stopped caring. I walked away because I finally started caring about me. For the first time in what felt like years, I could breathe in my own space without checking over my shoulder for lies dressed as love. I changed my number, deleted the last of our shared photos. I boxed up the anniversary mugs, the keychains from road trips, the notes we left on the fridge. I didn't burn them. I didn't throw them out. I just let them go, because I didn't need proof of what we were or what she ruined. But the real surprise came 2 weeks later. It was a letter, handwritten, no return address, just my name in her handwriting. I almost tossed it. But curiosity is a stubborn thing. It wasn't long, just a page and a half. No dramatics, no justifications. She said she saw herself clearly for the first time after I told her she was chasing applause, not love. She admitted the affair wasn't just a betrayal of me. It was a betrayal of who she thought she'd become. She said she didn't expect forgiveness, didn't want to fix anything anymore, and wouldn't contact me again. The last line read, "Maybe the break we took was never supposed to end. Maybe it saved you. And maybe that's the one good thing I ever did." I folded the letter and slid it into a drawer. Not because I needed it, but because I didn't. And now I'm doing something wild. I started traveling again. Alone at first, then with people who had no idea what I'd been through. People who didn't ask, didn't pry, didn't judge. Just real, quiet humans who showed up, shared a meal, and disappeared into the sunset without promises or expectations. One night on a hike in Arizona, I met someone. Her name's Elsie. She doesn't know the full story yet. And that's okay. What matters is that she doesn't look at me like a backup plan or a project. She just listens when I talk. She laughs with her whole chest. And when she touches my hand, it doesn't feel like I'm auditioning for love. It feels like I'm already enough. I don't know what the future holds. But I know this. The man I was when Danielle said, "Let's take a break," wouldn't have survived this. The man I am now, he doesn't just survive. He lives.